Hello and welcome to GPTV on Tuesday the 4th of March. My name is Philip Kingston.
And I'm Gary Peer.
And Gary, fitting that we be sitting with a backdrop of garden greenery, given the fact that this is the first GPTV episode for the season of autumn.
It's got a very autumnal feeling about it, hasn't it?
Well, I've got to tell you, Gary, the weather is nothing short of absolutely magnificent.
Yep.
You've got to love autumn in Melbourne because we're through with the absolute heat waves of summer. And autumn is a very, very lovely season in Melbourne. And here we are in a garden setting. And interestingly, autumn will not affect this garden, Gary, because it's evergreen.
I think, Phil, given that you've made such a big deal about the garden, why don't we start out of order and talk about this property first. Here we are at one of the most phenomenal properties of its type that you'll ever see, right in the heart of Oron Crescent, Philip, number 27B or Oron Crescent.
This property sets a new standard for properties of its type, and I want to congratulate the owner of this property, who is a builder and a very fine builder.
Yep.
We've sold many projects for this man,
Yes.
and I'm proud to say that he just keeps getting better and better and better. Having said that, he comes off an enormously high base, but he keeps lifting the bar, and what he's created here is a phenomenal, almost 350 square metre, 4-bedroom, 4-bathroom town residence. But what sets this apart, not just all of the quality fittings and the features and the floors and this gorgeous landscape garden, but it's one of the first town residences of 2-storey where he's actually put in a lift, which I think is a bit of a breakthrough because it means people of all ages can now buy this property. So I'm really looking forward to see how this one pans out. Pretty sensational property, though.
It is a sensational property. There's already been a lot of interest, a lot of people through here. I'm not surprised, Philip. And of course, the position is second to none. But from my perspective, the fixtures and fittings are just incredible. It's just so beautifully finished off.
Yeah.
So.
Gary, what a big weekend. A big weekend off the back of a huge weekend last weekend.
27 auctions there were, Phil.
27 auctions. We sold 21 out of 27, Gary, which gave us a clearance rate of 78%. As those towers come up, you'll see the average in Melbourne was 74%. Keep in mind that the average in Melbourne will probably be scaled back over the next couple of days, probably to about 72%, because there were a lot of unreported auctions. But once again, I tell the viewers, anything over 70% as an industry average means the market is alive, healthy and vibrant. But speaking of alive, healthy and vibrant, Gary, we had some amazing results across the weekend with depth of buyer interest, which means bidder interest, nothing short of sensational.
I'm going to challenge you there.
Yep,
Because,
challenge me.
firstly, the clearance rate was great, but it wasn't as good as the week before. There was one that didn't sell, actually, in South Yarra, Philip.
Tivoli Place, tell us about that.
I reckon that's a great property, and I think the good news is that it hasn't sold because someone can come and still buy it. Or for someone that hasn't bought it yet,
it's true.
It's great news. So that's one, for example.
Tivoli Place, what a great position, right in the heart of South Yarra. In fact, we said at the auction, it comes with 2 car spaces.
It does.
But you actually don't need a car there because you've got tram, train and bus.
So it's a disadvantage.
On your doorstep. No, you could rent the cars out.
Who's negative now?
You could rent the car spaces out to Lindsay Fox, who has got an amazing classic car collection.
We started off on Saturday in Grange Road, Carnegie. We passed that in at 500,000, but sold it after auction for 560. Philip, a good post-auction negotiation. Went very
I hope
well.
you're not going to go through all 27
I'm not
options,
going to.
Gary.
We'll just go
Let's
through
talk about some highlights.
One at 374 Oron Road, Phil. That went really well. We thought we'd get interest in that sort of mid to high sixes, but lo and behold, Philip, it's sold under very competitive bidding for $757,000.
Worth talking about that, Gary, because it was only not that long ago where we couldn't break the $600,000 barrier for apartments like that. Now we've smashed through the $700,000 barrier. It's probably not long away, and I know I'm prone to embellishment and exaggeration, but I can tell you it won't be long before these things sell for $1 million.
19 Clifton Street, Phil. The reserve there, or the expectation, was somewhere in that kind of mid-sixes, 6 to 650. And it sold under intense competition on Sunday for $780,000. 4 at 8 Meadow Street. Now, here's an interesting auction story, ladies and gentlemen.
This is a great
This is a
story.
beauty. Before that, we did sell 20 Kelburn Street, Caulfield North, under fantastic competition. We were expecting around the low ones there, and we got, well, better than that, can I say.
Significantly better.
So
Once again,
4 bidders.
undisclosed.
Yeah, undisclosed.
4 bidders,
But
was it?
We did shoot from there last week, so I thought I'd bring that up.
Yeah.
Phil, we went off again in the afternoon on Sunday to Derby Crescent in Caulfield East. A very competitive result there, undisclosed, but strong bidder. And the underbidder from Clifton Street ended up buying.
Is that right?
Our
Determined to live in Caulfield East.
Was not going to be pushed away from Derby Crescent. Phil.
And by the way, viewers, Caulfield East, I reckon, is a bit of a hot spot to be buying because with the redevelopment, that massive redevelopment that's going on. In fact, we might talk about that in a couple of weeks' time on GPTV to show people what's going on.
We don't have
might
much
film
time
from there,
now,
but a huge development at the racecourse.
488 Meadow Street was one of the most fantastic real estate stories you'll ever hear, ladies and gentlemen. It was passed in with 2 bidders in the high 400s at 489.5. The reserve at that stage was given to the final bidder, and the reserve was 550. The final bidder said, I will not pay 550, and decided to give up their rights.
Which then gives us the opportunity to speak to other
That's
buyers.
right.
So he could have bought it at 550.
Yes, and actually went a little bit higher and then decided to walk away, which was absolutely fine. But lo and behold, Philip, 2 people that did not bid at the auction came forward, and there was an auction after the auction, Phil, and it sold for $585,000. So an extraordinary real estate story in Meadow Street. There you go.
You can have an auction, but doesn't preclude you from having another one immediately after, and it does happen.
Go figure. It happens sometimes. Ludbrook Avenue, Phil, we were looking for around 800.
Okay, I've got to talk briefly about that, Gary, because
quickly.
It was beautifully presented.
Yes.
But it was I don't know, must have been 20 years old, this townhouse, and it showed, and I don't mean that disrespectfully, but you know, things do date, but immaculately kept.
Well.
When I walked in there, we'd been quoting up to 800,000, and I thought 8 would be a good result for it. Had a big crowd. Ludbrook Avenue is a great street.
It is a good street.
We ended up selling it for $985,000, almost $200,000 over the reserve. I got to tell you, Gary, we think we know a lot about real estate. Sometimes we know nothing.
We know
because
nothing.
That is a phenomenal price. That sale alone may cause us to re-rate the price of all 2-story townhouses now. So stay tuned for that.
But you know what they say, one swallow doesn't make a summer, Philip. So you
well,
don't
it's
know.
into autumn, Gary. So you've got another cliche for me.
I have, Phil. But I'll give it to you later. In the meantime, 34 Narrawong Road, Phil, was sold for $1,211,000. A competitive auction, just 2 people just going bang, bang, bang.
Leo Samuel, I think, did that auction,
No,
didn't
he didn't. I did it.
Okay, well, if Leo had have done it, he would have done a great job. But nice to see that you are working on Sunday.
So that's a wrap, Phil, for a very, very busy weekend. Gary Pearrett Associates, lots of sales, and we had a few additional sales to those 21 of 27, but the weekend up ahead, Phil, is going to be a bit of a quiet one?
Well, there were, I think, 1,100 or 1,200 auctions in Melbourne weekend just passed.
Yes.
Same the number before.
Yes.
It's about to just drop off an edge of a cliff this week because it's the long weekend in Melbourne, of course. Yep. And I think there's 270 auctions listed in Melbourne this long weekend. We haven't got any.
No, we're not doing it that weekend, Phil, but the weekend after there'll be plenty happening, and we'll be reviewing them next week. And we'll also be bringing very shortly the interview that we have with our magnificent Mandarin-speaking Chinese sales lady that we have, Philip, who is
from
fantastic.
Inner Mongolia.
We'll look forward to bringing you the interview with Judy. That's a great one. Stay tuned, because certainly the Mandarin-speaking community is a big influence in our market. Gary.
And as Asia, Gary, continues to flex its economic muscle, it's becoming more and more important to Australia for us to know exactly how to handle that market.
And Canada's changed its policy, Philip.
Correct,
so that's another
Gary.
interesting
Good to
thing.
see
We
you
should talk
reading
about that.
The Age newspaper.
Yep, slipped in front of the form guide. Look forward to bringing you all the real estate news. I'm Gary Pearrett.
I'm Philip Kingston. Have a great week.
Bye now.